let me finish.
Okay, well, I thought I had, but go ahead.
Okay, y'all, let's take turns and let each other finish.
Welcome to Let Me Finish, the podcast where three minds give their unfiltered and sometimes unpopular opinions on all the craziness going on in our lives and in this world. We're your hosts, Jillian,
Janice.
And Michael.
Settle in and let's take a deep dive.
Welcome to Let Me Finish. We are your host. I'm Janice.
I'm Jillian.
All right, guys, welcome back. So again, don't forget, we are just one down. This is our last week. We miss Michael, so can't wait to have him back. But again, he's spending much welcome time with family and enjoying that and focusing on that. So I think, for us, family time is a very important time. Friend time, just emotional, relaxation, all of that good stuff. So we welcome it, and I know I do. I need my little breaks too. So so we're gonna just jump right in. How was your week, Jill?
It was fine. It was a really chill week at work. I felt like it was like for us to come back because I was off last week.
Oh, right.
Just to come back, and I felt like it wasn't like super crazy or anything like that. So it was a good like workflow week. So I didn't have to worry about that. And then I went out to dinner with friends last week Friday to celebrate my birthday. I went to Eddie V's.
Yeah,
I don't know.
We talked about that last time.
Did we?
Yeah, I think so, because you had gone that Friday and we podcasted that Sunday.
Oh, okay. So, okay, but then this week we did our family birthday dinner, and we went to D Lincoln Prime, which the food was great.
I like the food. I mean, so our cousin was very much like,
I'm never coming back.
She ain't coming back because ain't no bread on the table.
Yeah.
Girl.
So they didn't have any like.
That's a what's that called? A comment.
Yeah. She's like, they don't.
But I get it because the bread's good. Bread's good.
Yeah. So I was just like, okay, bread and butter. Okay, do your thing.
But
it's very unusual.
Some places though, like there are places that like are like their bread is like the thing. Like even SDK. Like their little butter bread is like, I mean, and don't get me wrong, I'm not a fan of SDK, but their bread was good.
Yeah.
And the Cheesecake Factory, their bread.
The brown bread.
That brown bread is so delicious.
Very delicious.
So I do look forward to buttering of my bread and eating my bread. Now, it does help with not overeating.
Yeah.
And getting full before your meal gets there.
Yeah, I think that's why I was able to like finish my meal, is because I didn't stuff my face full of.
But we didn't get that much food, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think they may say, hey, the strategy may be we don't get people full with free bread and butter, because we did order appetizers.
Yeah, we did.
Before the meal, you had a salad. I had some like these really nice beef tenderloin pot stickers that I really liked with this like spicy salsa kind of thing. It was good. And then I think Stacey had some kind of.
She had like a hush puppy shrimp. It was really good.
Yeah, it looked really good.
I mean, the Caesar was the Caesar. So.
It was just, yeah.
It was good, though.
Yeah. You did enjoy that. He was trying to take Janice's plate away. She goes, wait, hold on, I'm not done.
I was like, because the first lady that came by, I was like, there was like a whole quarter left.
Yeah.
I'm definitely eating that. And to be fair, when the guy was trying to take, I was like, I could eat this last bite, but
you can go ahead and take it. Because what it was is that we were of course talking, conversating, and eating at the same time. So you're not like shoveling all the food down your throat, super quickly. But we had, me and Janice had steak. Our mom had salmon.
Yeah, the salmon looked good. I wish I would have asked for a bite.
And then I think Stacey had sushi.
Yeah, she got the sushi was good. It was like a tempura shrimp type sushi.
Yeah,
she likes only cooked sushi, so
yeah,
it was good though.
Yeah, and then for the sides, I think we had charred broccoli, which was I love broccoli, so and some mashed potatoes.
It was good, but it was very a very small amount of broccoli, if you ask me.
Yes, it was. I wasn't expecting that.
We literally only got like two, like maybe a spare and a half a piece, like of broccoli. I was like, okay,
yeah.
But they had some other appetizers. Like they did have like a crab mashed potato, a lobster mac and cheese. They had this chorizo corn. Brussels sprouts. There were quite a few sides I could have tried, but they seemed like they were, our mom doesn't eat seafood or shellfish.
No.
So we can't really do anything with the seafood in it. So that locked out the mashed potatoes.
Yeah, we're trying to
and
maximize how many people could partake in the sides, which is shareable.
Yeah. So I was like, okay. And I don't think anybody else likes corn but me, but I love cream corn.
Yeah, I think I would definitely go back there. So I mean, I totally get it. I think
this steak was seasoned very nice and cooked very like I asked for medium well, and it was cooked how I needed it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you ask for Jillian asked for medium, and it was a little. I was like, oh, a little red.
Yeah, that's how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a little red in the.
A little blood.
It's supposed to be a little red.
Sorry,
in the
it wasn't a little red. Mine was a little red. You're a little bloody. But I mean, hey, that's how they say steak is supposed to be eaten. So hey, go for it. But it was flavored very, very good.
Very
so
well. Yeah.
good ambiance, good picture opportunities. So
Yeah. Took a lot of pictures.
I took some pictures. So we should post them. I'll post them on the page. Let me finish page so you guys can see, because it was some cute little photo ops for Jill's birthday. So
Yeah. I was saying that I felt really special and appreciated. So
good.
I had a really, really great time.
Happy birthday! Yeah. Awesome. That was pretty much your week.
Yep, that was it.
Okay. So for my week, I'm still healing, so still taking it easy. I'm planning to do I'm gonna watch Outer Banks today. Me and my friend Ashley, she's coming over, so we're gonna watch the Outer Banks. I know we have Daryl Dixon to catch up on. Still haven't watched Daryl Dixon, so hopefully, I think I would prefer to watch Outer Banks today because I need to watch it. And then Daryl Dixon's tape. So maybe we'll have
It's
another.
only 2 episodes, so it won't take you long.
Yeah, but then Outer Banks has 4. So if we watch that, and then I don't know if we'll have time for 6 episodes. She's going to come over right after we podcast. So maybe, because I do get tired easy, honey. So I wanted to talk about, what's it called? So, obviously it's Halloween, it's coming up. So, and I'm not a scary movie watcher, but we are doing a scary movie night next weekend with, Stacy, our cousin, and our mom, this family, our girls movie night, basically. But, I'm not a scary movie watcher, but I do love the screams. And I probably had stopped after Scream 4. I was like, I'm good. I'm good. And even Scream 4, I probably watched once and was kept it moving. But I will say, so Jillian, while we were getting ready at Jillian's house, she put on Scream 6. I was like, oh God. Oh my God. Instantly hooked. I was like, wait, what?
And I've been telling her,
it was
Scream.
good.
Go watch Scream Skins. She's like, I've missed so much. Da 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 da. I said, no, girl. They very few franchise reboots have been done very well, and I think they did it well with 5 and 6,
as they call it, a requel.
Yeah, yeah. It was so well done. Like I said, they've done it with Halloween. They've done it with other the Alien.
I just did not see how they could, especially because, the thing I like about it is they do tie it back to the originals. All of them still tie back, except for all of them really tie back. Because even Scream 4, I was like, really? We're coming back with this? We're really going to do another one?
Yeah.
And then I was like, it was okay. But I was like, okay, now I understand. Now I get it. Okay, so it's like a requel. It's a remake of the original kind of thing, but they're bringing back the original cast, so it's really good.
Yeah, and they did talk about it, is how they talk about slasher movies in the actual movie, that they've turned this into a franchise. And I'm like, yeah, they successfully did it. Like I said, I believe, like I said, Alien has done it, which I think the last 2, I haven't seen the last Alien with Alien Romulus, but I've heard really great reviews about that. I'm just waiting for it to come out on streaming to be able to check that out. And then also, if anyone has seen some Predator, they've done several movies.
I've watched the Predator versus Alien movies.
So yes,
one of them.
So this came out on Hulu, and they did did a, I don't know if it's a sequel or an offshoot, where they did one called Prey, which was set in during the revolution, not quite the Revolutionary War period. So it's during the time of Native Americans in the United States, and they did awesome job with that particular movie. And I'm just like, okay, so they harken back to the original Predator, but then did a twist on it and just did a really great job. So anyone, it's on Hulu, check out. It's called Prey. It's really well done. They had a really great heroine in the lead role, and it was just really well done. So I like that too.
I've never watched any of the Alien movies, which I think I would like them because I do like Alien type movies, but in the past they've kind of scared me. So depends on how scary the aliens are. Because even Independence Day, like when I first watched it, I was a little scared.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I try not to like scare myself, and so I just try to stay away from it as much as possible.
Yeah, I don't even consider Independence Day
Alien movie?
a Halloween movie. I consider it
It's not a Halloween movie.
I consider it a 4th of July movie.
It's absolutely a 4th of July movie. It's called Independence Day.
Yeah, but it does have the scary element of the aliens.
Yeah, the scary.
But
I
it's
just
like
think
an action.
all alien movies are just a little scary. But I would never classify an alien movie as a Halloween movie, though. So but I'm scared of a lot of things. So, speaking of things I'm scared of, Julian read a book last week.
Behind Her Eyes.
Behind Her Eyes. It was a show on Netflix in 2020. So back then I had told her, "Oh girl, this show is good." And then when I realized the show came out and I watched it, and then the twist in the show is crazy, of course. So I was like, let me go read the book so I can get some more context of how the hell this happened, or more, because I know how it happened in the show. They do, reveal everything, but obviously anytime there's a book, I do try to go back and read the book, only if I haven't yet, because there's always more to the story in the book. So like, because in shows you can't talk about what they're thinking about, which in the books you're like in their mind. So I do like reading the books. And so so for anybody who likes a good thriller read, suspense thriller, Behind Her Eyes, great read.
Yeah. When I finished it, I instantly texted Janice and like, what?
I told her.
WTF.
Even in the show, you're going to be like, what the fuck?
And like the twist at the end, I didn't see coming.
Nobody does. And it's impossible to catch.
And I was just like, and it's really didn't really come down to like, I would say the climax was the last like 3 chapters of the book. And I still, until it was actually revealed.
You were like, what? Yeah, like she asked me, she's like, da-da-da-da, is this what happens? I go, girl, no.
And I was like,
there's more to it.
I was only like second to last, the first to last chapter, I'm just like, girl. And then finally the last chapter and everything's kind of put out for you. And I'm just like, I'm like literally, because
it's one of those endings that upset you.
Very much so.
Just gonna put it out there. So, yeah, but it's still a really, really amazing suspense thriller. So, and it's a fast read too. So
yeah, it's a fast read.
Very fast read.
Yeah, I'm like, Janice, I can't believe.
I said it doesn't matter what time you're reading this, and when you finish, you probably gonna text me like, what the hell?
Yeah, and that's instantly what I did. I'm just like,
and it stays in your mind for quite some time. You think about it.
Yeah,
it's a crazy ending anyway. So
yeah, I was just like, I'm like disappointed. I was just like, that's not how I wanted this to end. It didn't end the way I wanted it to end. I'm just like, I hate this.
No, I can't lie.
No, the author did a great job. Amazing writing. It's one of those things where I'm just like,
it's upsetting because, it's kind of like that book I read, or a movie I watched, and they said it was a book, and I was like, who the hell would go back and read this book after seeing how it ended in this movie? And it was called Never Let Me Go with Andrew Garfield and Keira Knightley. And it was just, the ending's so fucking awful. It's so awful.
Oh, really?
It's just, I'm like, what the hell? Why would you do this to people?
Yeah. And I think that's the part.
Bullshit.
And I was just like,
I still have a visceral reaction when I think about
I was just
that.
like, no. Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm just like,
yeah,
okay.
Never Let Me Go is worse.
Okay, so I'm definitely not reading that, because I'm just like, no, this is not what I wanted to happen.
No, I mean, I was like, I don't even know I was wasting my time watching this. Like, it was horrible. Oh, so upsetting. Because I was like, oh, good actors, and it's a really cool concept. So the concept of that is like basically like cloning people for organ farming. So
Oh, okay.
that's the concept of it, really.
So,
But anyway, so I think we're gonna power through past the past the break, or do you want to take a break? I mean, we can.
actually, no, we can. I think we just
Let's power through because I think, we're probably because I had. Speaking of, we watch a lot of TV, and I've been watching a lot of TV because I've literally just been at home watching TV healing. Mm-hmm. So I watched this show called Married at First Sight, which it's been going on for quite some time. So I'm sure people that are listening have watched it. There's this season 17, mm-hmm. and there's this guy on the show, and he is Indian, like reservation type Indian.
Native American.
Mm-hmm. And he's very into his culture, which completely understand that. Love that. Mm-hmm. He's very involved. Like this is like he identifies very much as like about his culture.
He's keeping his culture alive.
Yes, mm-hmm. very much so. So there's a woman who's exactly the same way. She's an African American woman. She's very much the same way. She made it very clear her culture, being Black, all of that's very important to her, advocating, being activist, all of it, right? So they were like, let's match them up because then that won't be a problem in the relationship. They'll have that mutual respect for each other, for their cultures. Mm-hmm. Great, right? So going into the storyline, they get married. It's Married at First Sight. So again, you're not
the first time they're meeting is on their wedding day.
So again, so it's you don't have any context about the person you're marrying. Mm-hmm. So they get married and great connection at first. Like he talks about how beautiful she is. She says that she feels like she's on the show to meet him. That's what brought her here. They're both very much talking about spiritually. They feel like they're connected. I was like, okay, great. This is gonna work out.
Right.
So, so they go into the conversation, into the honeymoon, all beautiful bells and whistles type thing. So then they have decided to have a conversation, which it can be heavy, and it's a question because I've dated out of my race quite a bit, so it's a question I usually do ask. The answer, I don't, I'm not so much looking. I just want to know, for me, she asked him, "Do you use the N-word?" Right? And because again, he's not white, right? So yeah. And I think sometimes that line gets blurred. If you're a person of color, you can kind of use it. I'm not necessarily a person that thinks that. I don't use it, so I'm not a big. I don't use that word a lot.
Me personally, I think if you are not Black, you should not be using that word at all.
Okay. Yeah. And I've been like, as long as it's not derogatory, I'm not a big like, oh my God, I can't believe you. If you're a person of color. Let's be clear. He says yes, but then he says no, he doesn't use the word. But then she goes, have you ever? And he said, yes. As a young person, I used it. And I didn't really understand what was happening or what I was doing. Mm-hmm. Singing in songs, but kind of using it loosely, kind of way. But he said his mother and him and people around him educated him on why he really shouldn't be using the word. So he stopped.
Right.
Cool. So then he asked her, have you used derogatory terms before? And she was just like, yes, I have in my past. And again, same thing. I've learned from it. I've grown from it, blah, blah, blah. And then he said, what, like redskin? And she goes, no, I don't even know what that means. She's like, no, I've never used that term. I don't know what it means. And then she looks at him, and mind you, they're in Mexico, so they're in the sun. And she says, she kind of laughs. She does laugh, and she looks down. She goes, oh, now I know your face is red right now, is what she said. And he was not happy about it. He was offended. Mm-hmm. And he said as much. He said, oh, that was rough. That was upsetting. And she does immediately kind of go into, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like that's not how I meant it. I shouldn't have said it that way. I shouldn't have said it at all. Like and then he goes, well, do you want to know what it means? And then he goes into the explanation of, really the scalping of the Indians for their hair and things of that nature, which is, she definitely leans in, to the moment, and she's just like, that's disgusting. That's horrible. Nobody should be using that term if that's the case, if that's where it's definitely where it's coming from. But again, mind you, the girl, she said, I did not know what it mean in general. Right. She probably legitimately just thought, oh, it's the color of your skin. It's red, just like brown, white. She wasn't thinking anything derogatory when she said that, in my opinion. But it's a derogatory term. She was educated on it. He educated on it. Thank you, as my husband, as my new husband. Thank you. So of course it kind of lingers into the next day. Because he says straight up, I'm heated right now. And he doesn't raise his voice. I want to make that clear when he said he was heated. So she, of course, felt really, really bad. She was, she didn't want to be like a victim. So she was just like, immediately I feel horrible. I feel like I really let him down in this marriage. So she begins to do more research on, he's Navajo, on his culture, his tribe.
Which is good.
His thing, like just different things, terms of endearment. So she talking about terms of endearment. She's learned about his culture and things like that. So she continues the conversations, apologizes. She wants to have a further conversation like, hey, I just want you to know, I really feel badly about what happened. I hope you can forgive me. And I want to come from a place of knowledge, and I plan to educate myself.
Right. He
says, it took him some time, but he forgives her. And moving forward, they're going to be good. Or that they're okay. Not necessarily that they're going to be good, but they're okay right now. So they continued into the next day. Mind you, conversations at dinner started coming up about sexual things. And they had sexual conversations like preferences and grooming, all of that. They had conversations about that. And at dinner, and they were they were talking about their kinks and, possibly exploring each other's bodies and possibly having like a red room and all this stuff. Right. So they start discussing that type of thing. During the conversation, he brings up the fact that he hasn't had, he's kind of held off on any sexual interaction with people, and it had been about a year and a half since his last time he had sex with somebody. Totally fine, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember how it comes up, if he straight up asked her when's the last time she had sex or she volunteered the information, but she went ahead and told him, well, the last time I had sex was about 2 months ago. And instantly his face changes. And he says to her, yeah, you and I are just a little different. I hold myself a little higher, and I don't just give myself away. Is what he said, girl. I was like, what do you mean give yourself away? So are you implying that I gave myself away?
He's slut shaming.
Okay. So, and then he further goes on to say, of course she's like a little taken back, and then he further goes on to say, hearing that does take sex off the table for me now. What do you mean? First of all, we're married. So you're planning not to have sex with me ever? And second of all, what does that mean? Because I had sex, and because he said because for him, he felt like he was an engaged man when he got chosen for the show. And she said, so did I. That was before I was chosen. And he goes, I just feel like my intentions were a little bit more pure coming into the situation. And she said, so you're questioning my intentions, right? She never accused him of slut shaming in that moment. She accused him way, 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 way later. But she decides to end the conversation like, hey, you know what? I'm done with this conversation. I now want to sit in silence and finish this dinner, and I need to process, right? I don't think she wanted to say anything too quickly. So here, let me ask this quick question. So
was he expecting her to be celibate for a man that she's never met before?
I don't know if he meant for her to be celibate. I think he would want her sexual escapades to be fewer and far between than that. Oh. Not saying, because you don't really know how long ago she had sex from the 2 months. It could have been a year. And then 2 months ago, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he doesn't ask questions for context. He doesn't. Because he instantly says that takes sex off the table for me. And he says because of that. So later, when she questions the fact that he doesn't think her intentions are pure, the fact that you said that the sex was taken off the table because of the 2 months ago I had sex. So she's pissed off. And that's when she said, I want to end this conversation right now. I need time. So when they get in bed later, he said, I want to finish this conversation. I don't want us to end it the way we did. Fine, right? He flips it around. I don't want you to think that I said sex is off the table because of that comment. And she goes, then what is it? Then tell me what took it off the table. And that's when he further talks about pure intentions. And she goes, why don't you feel my intentions are pure? Tell me. I want you to explain why you don't feel my intentions are pure. I don't think he could fully articulate it. Because
could you?
The only way to articulate the reason why you don't feel her intentions are pure, or you feel like she gives herself away, or you feel like it's now taking sex off the table, is for me only one conclusion. Mm-hmm. The conclusion is you don't think she's clean enough for you. You're slut shaming this woman.
Yeah.
You think she's dirty in a sense. Mm-hmm. That's the only conclusion I can have.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't think he ever wanted to say that's what he did. So at this time, her voice does become elevated. I wouldn't say she was yelling, but she was definitely like the black girl was coming out in her. Like that stereotypical, like, what? What'd you say? No, stand on what you said. Stand on what you said.
Exactly.
Right? So I was like, ooh, she getting him the business. He definitely visibly becomes a little uncomfortable. I don't know if he was uncomfortable with her raised voice or the fact that she was standing up for herself in that moment and he couldn't come back and give a good reason of why he said it. I don't know the reason. I have an idea because later, so after this conversation, they go to bed. They have a whole next day that's pretty awkward. And he then brings it back up and says basically the reason why sex is off the table for him, or another factor, was the fact that he's not over the comment from the first day or the second day of the honeymoon. Right? I'm like, okay, so now you're flipping it back on her because again, I don't know. It feels like I understand that he was offended, right? So they go into the conversation.
But they had that discussion.
Yes. And they
came to a mutual agreement.
Mm-hmm.
And put it to rest. So why you... See, I think he did that... Well, I'm not really over it. So, okay, so that tells me that you were lying about your feelings. Because if you weren't over it, we should have...
Totally fine. Yeah.
It would have been totally fine. We could continue to have that discussion, work a way to... Because she can't... In that situation, she can't take back what she said.
Right.
All she can do is apologize.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. First, acknowledge what she did was wrong. Apologize and make sure in the future it never happens again.
And be sincere about that apology.
And be sincere. Exactly. That's all you can do.
And she took extra steps to say, you know what? I don't want this to happen again. And I want my husband to feel safe in this marriage. So I'm going to educate myself on his culture. Which I don't feel like he did for her.
Exactly.
There was something he said in the beginning. It rubbed me the wrong way. I'm not saying I would have been mad. I wouldn't have been mad, but it is something that kind of comes up with black women in our hair. Because he was just like, can I watch you do put your edges down? And she goes, what? You mean lay my edges down? Whatever. Anytime you start wanting to watch me do certain things, it almost feels like an animal in a zoo type of thing. I don't know. I've always had that happen. And again, it's something where I take it with a grain of salt because I know it's never coming from an offensive place. I don't find it offensive. It's just a consistent thing where it's always going to be there. People are always fascinated with black women's hair.
Mm-hmm. And I think especially seeing that he had admitted to his own racial indiscretions as far as using the N-word.
Yes.
And I was just like, okay, I understand that maybe, and she was in the same place.
Understand at the time, which is why he stopped.
So the same place that you were at with the N-word, she was at with that particular derogatory term. And it's just like, okay, what did you do to educate yourself on the history of that word? Why, like I said, I feel like when it comes to the N-word, because that's something that is really, I think, exclusive as far as like the history and the pain that's associated with that. I do not like that word to be used outside of black people.
Because it's almost like we're taking it back.
Exactly. So there's a big difference between me, that's a race thing. Even with a gendered thing, there's a difference between me saying girl, bitch, versus a guy saying it. I don't care. It can't be playful, nothing. That word should never come out of your mouth as a man towards me. Me with my girlfriends and all that stuff, being playful about that. It's totally different. I think it's a way for us to also take back that power. So I find it funny that he's upset. I'm just like, but you admitted to making the same mistake, and she's trying to learn. She didn't understand. You've explained it to her. She's trying to learn. She's trying to correct.
She's made further steps, and she's also been contrite in the fact that she feels like, I want to make sure I really take the time to do these things because I want you to feel safe in this marriage. I don't want to fail you in this marriage. I don't want you to have to go into the world that can be cruel when it comes to race and different cultures and come to our home and feel that way. Yeah. So I'm taking extra steps. So it
needs to be reciprocal too.
And absolutely. And I don't think that was touched on at all. Anyway, so, and I think, rightfully so. I think it was smart of her. I think it was, good of her not to be like, well, I'm black and I understand it. She never came from a place of like ignorance or I'm gonna turn it around on you, which I feel like he absolutely does. He turned it around on her because then even they go into the pastor or whatever or the experts because they have a pastor, they have a therapist, they have a sex therapist, they have all kinds of people that are like experts. So they talk to one of the experts. He explains his and then it wasn't about the conversation about the slut shaming. Okay, because that was an argument because
he knows he was on the back foot and he's in the wrong in that particular situation.
Exactly. So when he talks to the pastor, he was talking about how upset he was because I think they had some type of argument off camera where she was just like, I want a divorce. She was mad, she took off her ring, blah, blah, blah. So when he talks to the pastor, he very much brings up the fact that the comment, he brings up the fact that she said she wants a divorce and just paints her as like this bad person, even though she's upset. So then pastor's like, oh, I understand. Like, I get it. Okay, where is she? Let me talk to her. So then when they're talking, of course, now she brings up all of it. Hey, this happened that first day. I feel really bad about that. I have been very forthcoming with my apology, knowing I was wrong. It was a crude joke I should not have made in that moment, which I did not understand. And then he's like, well, I can understand why he's upset. She's like, yeah, I'm taking further steps to educate myself. That's when she talked about trying to look up terms of endearment. What are other derogatory terms that, she should definitely stay away from, things like that. And he goes, well, okay, so you have made some steps. Okay. And so is that not good enough? And he goes, no, I don't think it is. I don't think I can get past it. Huh?
Get a divorce.
Like, you can't get past it.
Yeah.
So he's just like, well, that's a shame. Like, I don't understand. Like, because the thing about it is, like, we're human. We're going to make mistakes. And for somebody who says they wanted this experience and,
which, I mean, when it comes to...
You're going to have to be open to people making mistakes. And if you're such an unforgiving person, I don't feel like you should be on this show. And I don't think it's fair to her.
I don't think she did it with malice or anything like that.
And I think it was completely gaslighting. He just wanted to take the spotlight off of what he had just done and bring it back to something that was probably, in my opinion, more serious. No.
It's just as serious, but...
Just as serious, yeah.
Here's the thing. When you're dating outside of your culture, because when you're dating inside your culture...
Oh, pointing out, he's never dated inside his culture.
Oh.
Never.
Okay. Yeah, it's harder. When you're dating inside your culture, there's just... When you're part of the culture, there's unsaid things that we all experience when you're inside a particular culture. So there's certain things about being, our Jamaican culture... that I don't have to explain it to another Jamaican person because we all experience that culture. And even now, like, there's Black culture, but there's something very specific about African American culture that sometimes when I first moved here and haven't been here so long, I did not get. And I would never intrude on that. There's particular aspects. Because I remember one particular thing where we're similar, but we're not 100% the same.
We're different, yeah.
We're different. I remember in high school, a friend of mine, I think her mom was cooking collard greens. I'm like, oh, I've never had that before.
Which technically we have. It's just called callaloo in Jamaica, but it's totally different.
It's totally different. It's similar, but it's still totally different. And I said, no, it's not. It's different.
I thought it was the same, like actual like greens.
No. So like I said, similar, but not the same. So clearly there's a connection as far as maybe a connection to African culture that has where it keeps connected, where it's similar, but you know, there's a difference between what was experienced in Jamaica versus here in the United States.
We grew up on Jamaican food.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where they're similar, but not because of where you grow up and different cultures. It's different, in enough ways. And I'm like, oh, I've never had that before, and this time she knows that I'm Jamaican. And she looked at me and she goes, you've never, like, it was almost like you can't even be black if you've never had a collard greens. I'm just like, okay, yeah, I understand that. And I'm just like, I mean,
you understand that?
It was just like, it was good. Like I said,
I had the same experience, especially in college with like people like just even like chicken and dumplings. I never had chicken and dumplings until college.
Yeah.
So when they, girl, you know me, when they kind of come at me and like, you've never, I said, listen,
there's plenty of things.
Black American is not who I am. I am Jamaican American.
Yeah.
Let's be clear.
Yeah.
I did not grow up the same way you have.
And there's plenty things that we've had that you haven't.
Absolutely. Saltfish, you know, like callaloo, yam and dumpling, like all those things, like ackee, like those are things that like we grew up eating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And so we weren't in a household where they were cooking soul food. Our mom didn't cook soul food. She cooked Jamaican food.
Yeah.
That's what she cooked.
Yeah.
You know,
and
our whole entire family cooks Jamaican food. Nobody cooks soul food, really. Yeah. I mean, as we've like, especially our generation, like Jillian and I's, because really we're the first generation to grow up here. Like our parents and our uncles and our aunts and things like that, they moved here. And then
late in life, like we're talking like 30s.
So then when they had us, the majority of our life, we grew up here, but we definitely still grew up with the Jamaican culture in the household.
Yeah. We're still connected to that.
Yeah. As far as like, but there, yeah, like I've always experienced, I still like meatloaf. That was new to me. I had never eaten meatloaf. Mm-hmm. Never. I mean, it just wasn't something I grew up on.
Yeah.
Do I like it now? Yeah. It's delicious.
Something I still haven't tried, grits.
Yeah, I've tried them. I don't like them at all. I don't like them with butter. I don't like them with sugar. I don't like them with salt. I don't like them.
Yeah.
I don't like them. I don't like the texture.
It's not necessarily
I don't like the
black
texture
thing,
of it.
but that's a southern thing. Grits
well,
is
cream of wheat or we used to eat that.
No.
We didn't eat it, but people in Jamaica will eat it. Yeah, they do. I don't eat it. Mom never made it. Like it wasn't something in our family that people.
So
were
making, grits is I don't even think this is just a southern thing.
Yeah, we like as far as grits to me, grits is like porridge to us. Like we used to grow up on porridge in the morning.
Yeah,
caramel porridge or oatmeal porridge.
Oatmeal porridge, yeah.
Like I would say, caramel porridge is more Jamaican.
I was just like, and the fact that we called it porridge, where it's people don't use that term,
which is funny because they have the nursery
Goldilocks
with the porridge, but I feel like
it's an English.
I understood what porridge was, but then the kids at school be like, "What's porridge?"
Yeah, we totally understand that. So when it comes to culture, like when you're of the same culture, it's unsaid things that we just understand. It doesn't have to be explained. Right. It's just experience. But when you're dating outside of your culture, there is going to be an adjustment time or a learning period. But I think as long as you're open to that learning and accepting of that culture, I think it can totally work between two different cultures.
And I think that's the point we wanted to make for the topic on the podcast today, like about cultural differences and things like that, and being forgiven, because that's what being forgiven in those moments, because mostly it was about the slut shaming for me. I was like, clearly you're just gaslighting. What is it where you say you turn yourself into a victim instead of
Darvo.
It's like the Darvo effect. Like when I bring to you a problem, you now turn it around and then make me the problem, and then you're the victim.
Yeah.
Because I was like, you guys had literally passed that. And then I'm like, and at the end of the day, that's not even a good hill to die on, because you're acting like it's so unforgiving, because he said he lost all romantic feelings for her. But you didn't lose all romantic feeling for me because you were talking to me about sex that next night.
Yeah.
Okay. And about having a dungeon and all this shit. You lost romantic feelings for me because I'm dirty.
Yeah.
No, not me, but because she's dirty and she had sex 2 months ago and somebody had been there. Yeah, somebody had been there. And then a part of me, Jillian, had, what'd you say?
So we talked about this at dinner. I said, I'm like, are you afraid of maybe being compared to someone else so recently?
Like a black man?
Yes.
Who stereotypically are more well endowed.
So do you feel like maybe you may be inadequate? Which for most women,
it has to be something like
it's
that.
It's not even like that, because it's just like there's plenty of guys out there who are getting it in, who aren't the most well endowed.
It ain't the size of the boat; it's the motion of the ocean, honey.
It's like there's many different ways when it comes to sex. There's many different ways to be able to express yourself and to be able to reach.
And let's be fair, women are.
Every woman is different.
They say
what they want and like and
women,
need is different.
They say women are more emotional when it comes to sex, and it's more of an emotional connection instead of just a physical one.
Exactly.
So understand, like, the size. I mean,
yeah, there's a lot of women.
It's a factor, but it's not. It's not a determining factor for like enjoying sex with the person.
Exactly. So a lot of women, it is very much emotional, and when you're with somebody that you really like or in love with, you'll make it work no matter what.
That's what I mean. So again, I just feel like I just hated the way he and then the thing about it, he pulls and prods her throughout the episodes, where he's like, I want to do a full reset, I want to start over, and then he literally says, no, never mind, I still want a divorce. And just, and then later he says, I miss you, I miss our connection. I'm just like, leave her alone. Leave her alone. You're trying to get over something, and what you're trying to get over is not the derogatory term that she made light of. And I would say that she made light of it. She didn't use it on him. She didn't make a joke, because it wasn't a joke. It was, she made light of a comment that she shouldn't have.
That's crazy. And then that's the whole thing. When we were talking about it, I feel like there may be a little bit of misogyny in there.
Absolutely.
So there's that. And I think almost like he didn't want to lose the upper hand in feeling like he had something over her.
So a part of me was thinking, I wonder, and he said he never dated somebody within his race. So of course that can mean any race, right?
So where is he from? Or where does he live?
They live in Denver.
Okay.
Colorado. So I don't know where he's grown up. Because I do think another factor for it, and I just don't think he was being honest with the experts. Mm-hmm. If it turned you off, it turned you off. Just say that. Just say that.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to circumvent it and bring it back to something that's not the point, right? If it turned you off that she had sex 2 months ago, just say that so you can work through that, because there are therapists there that can help you through that, right? But I also think when her voice became elevated, she started using more hand gestures. He brought up the fact that in the past, he had to be a protector for his sister and his mom with his stepdad. So I don't know if there was a factor of him that thought she was a little too aggressive with her communication, and he became uncomfortable with that because of some type of trauma in his past. I'm not sure.
You would think that trauma would be related to another man then, not to
it could be just
a woman.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a gender thing. It could just be like, hey, this is like ineffective way of communication. I don't want to be in a relationship where somebody becomes irate or raises their voice or starts. I can get that. That's fine. And if that's not comfortable to you, it's not comfortable to you. And if that's how she communicates when she's upset, and that's not, it doesn't, then again, speak on that so you guys can speak to the therapist about how to effectively communicate and not get to that point.
Right.
Say, I'm uncomfortable, because it did seem to me like he was uncomfortable when she became angry. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how you protected somebody, because you seem to like kind of retreat when voices get raised. And I don't think, again, she was not yelling. She was not like, "Ah, what the fuck?" Da, 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 da. She wasn't doing all that. She was just, her voice became elevated. And you could tell she was emotional.
Yeah. And that's a valid emotion for her to be able to express his anger. She's allowed to do that.
She is. And how you express your anger doesn't work for everybody. So I understand that. And so that's exactly why therapy is there. And those therapists and those experts are there to help you work through those small things, because there's always going to be conflict in a marriage. It's never going to be perfect, especially when you're marrying a stranger. Yeah. Right? So you have to figure out how, because compatibly, or as people, they felt like they were a connect and they were a match. And to be fair, on the surface and when they first met, those things that they were communicating about, they were very much connecting. So yes, how you communicate to each other, that can be worked through.
So here's the thing. When they had the conflict in regards to the racial slurs, did they work that out on their own amongst themselves, or did they go to the therapist?
They did not go to the therapist at all about that until after, and when he said he couldn't get over it, when he brought it up after the slut shaming.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
He wasn't like, and yeah, exactly.
So for them to be able to effectively communicate to each other, and what I perceived as resolve the issue on their own, I think because he was the aggrieved party. Oh yeah, we can work this out. But then when she's the aggrieved party, all of a sudden, I want a divorce. I can get over this.
Right. Keep in mind though, he never raised his voice. His voice never became elevated. He would just say, "I'm heated. I'm upset." And that's how he would say it. He never became visually upset to me. Just verbally, he was saying, "I'm upset."
But who knows what's simmering underneath?
I don't exactly. That's what I'm saying.
And it could be done on purpose, because let's be honest, it's reality TV, but the cameras are there. So who knows what will happen when the cameras are turned off they're in private.
That's true. So that's what I'm saying. Like, he can easily say, "Well, that's not how I communicate, because when she grieved me, that's not how I reacted," type thing. So again, if that is a factor, again, I think it was two factors for him. You were turned off by her having sex, and her reaction.
And you can admit that.
Exactly. You would never, because I think that's where she was getting more and more upset, because he would never really say what the problem is. Like, why are all your feelings romantically gone from me? Why do you want a divorce? Why are you so unwilling to forgive me or work on this? And he would never say it. Just say it. I'm turned off by the fact that by the thought of her having sex with somebody 2 months ago. Say that.
Yeah. Own your feelings.
Say to the therapist, "I felt uncomfortable when she raised her voice, and I'm never going to be in a situation where I'm with somebody who reacts that way when they're upset." Say that. Say that. Let the therapist help you. But you did not do that. And so one of the experts did say, "Are you a person that likes to be in control?" And he was just like, he said, "Well, I'm not trying to take control of this situation." She goes, "That's absolutely what you're doing when you say you want a divorce and you don't want to work on anything and you don't want to work through forgiveness. That is control."
Yeah.
And a part of me, because she was
the one that's going to have to do the forgiving. And so things are going to have to be done on her terms. So I think it is a control issue.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was like he was going to pull away or leave the situation before she did, because he did speak about how he consistently doesn't have the same reciprocation back from a love interest. So I think it's more of an insecurity thing too. Yeah. I think there's a lot of factors, which is why I'm just like, I was just so taken back by the whole situation. Because I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, just say what it is.
So whenever they go on this show, did they examine previous relationships to kind of see what caused the relationship to end, and see if there's a pattern?
I'm not sure, to be fair.
Okay.
Because I know one thing they definitely do is they tell the experts what they want. how their personality is, who they are as a person. And the experts do go and talk to them and interview them and really try to understand who they are as a person.
Right.
What's important to them, what they seek in a partner, what's a deal breaker for them in a relationship. They do, examine those type of things.
Okay.
But if people are not, if they don't know who they are, you know what I mean? If they've not done that work on themselves, it is going to be harder to get to the. So those are the things that come up, later on. This is who you said you were, but then, hey, this is not who you actually are.
Yeah.
Because there's another guy in the same season. This season's just a hot fucking mess. There's another guy who literally can't admit that he does not know how to pinpoint or point out what he's feeling. He doesn't know how to do that because she consistently because he keeps saying, I can't do it. I'm not in it. I don't feel anything. She's like, well, what do you feel? What do you feel? And he's just like, I don't know. And then she says, well, I think I would recommend individual therapy because he does make it clear that he doesn't want to talk about what he is wrong in front of the girl. So she's like, I think individual therapy would really help you. And he's offended. Why would you show up for this? Why would you sign up for this show if you're offended when a therapist says you need therapy? Get off the show, fucker. I was like, oh my God, he's too much.
It made you mad. Okay.
Yeah. And I hate to say it, both of these men just piss me off. I'm telling you. I'm like, you motherfuckers.
Yeah, I think there has to be some kind of emotional intelligence.
And neither one, I don't feel like. I think the other guy might have emotional intelligence, the one with the culture thing. And I think it's just he doesn't want to say it on the show. He doesn't want to look like the bad guy. The other guy, I really, truly don't feel like, because the way his family and friends talk about him, I'm like, okay, this is who he is. He has a problem.
Yeah.
He has an issue.
Yeah.
Because they talk about him having a temper and blowing up.
Yeah.
And I think it's because he doesn't know how to effectively locate what he's feeling.
Yeah. So yeah,
I think put a name on it.
I think that with this particular couple, I think he just didn't want to be. I think that's the biggest part of. He was
turned off.
He just doesn't want to.
Because mom was like, "Is it just because she's a black woman?" I was like, "I don't think so."
I think at the end of the day, it comes down to it may be a factor. I don't know. I
mean, he seemed to be very into her before that.
Honestly, I think when it comes down to it, he pretty much has a very sexist take on that, holding her to this ridiculous standard. And when he gets called out on it, he didn't want to seem like the bad guy. And so right now he is doing his best to not be the bad guy in the situation. And, oh, this is not really what we should be talking about. It should be this other situation that we resolved already. I'm going to go ahead and bring that up because I don't want to deal with this particular situation where I was in the wrong.
I don't want to take a look in the mirror.
Yes.
I don't want to take a look and examine.
And it's not, I'm not saying that he is, and it doesn't make you a villain. That's the part I don't understand. I'm like, you need to work through those feelings because at the end of the day, who she has sex with prior to knowing and meeting you and being accepted to the show is not a factor. It doesn't matter if she had sex with 10 men or one man or whatever. It doesn't matter.
I think with the way we look at slut shaming and things like these days, he's just more so thinking like it's probably going to look bad. I think he's probably thinking about that.
Yeah.
How it's going to be perceived.
He had let's be honest, a very sexist reaction, and he didn't want to be perceived in a bad way. And at the end of the day, it's just like you cannot live your life. Like I said, I think the whole purity culture is you are living your life for a man. Because the most of when it comes to purity culture, it is mostly put on women, not on men. You're living your life for men you've never met.
That's what I'm saying. I don't understand. He was like, he expected her to be celibate like him.
Yeah.
And that would have...
And if she wanted to be mad, I'm like, well, damn, that was a year and a half ago. Who was that bitch?
Like,
what happened there?
2 months, a year and a half. What does it
don't matter?
What does it matter? It was all before you.
Is she said that it was before she was even selected for the show. So
that's why he was like, well, once you signed up for the show, like you should have. I'm like, so how long is that process?
I don't know how long that process is.
Get real. You got to be out your motherfucking mind.
For something, who knows? It could have been
Don't slut shame me, bro.
Yeah, sometimes you just need that physical attention. You know?
You don't have to you shouldn't have to defend yourself.
Yeah. I'm just like
anything prior to that person, you shouldn't have to defend yourself. And if you are defending yourself, like that's a you thing, not a me thing.
Yeah.
Like, and if you don't like it, I mean, there's a door, and I guess he decided to take the door. So,
yeah.
But he wouldn't admit why he was taking the door. Just admit it.
Yeah.
That's what I think bothered me. But final thoughts. Do you have final thoughts, or you want me to go first?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, I think honestly it was just a sexist move on his part, and he did not want to be seen as the villain in this situation. And so that's why he went back to a previously settled argument into this argument, because that way I can be the victim.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they're like, well, really my reaction over here is really nothing to do with my totally sexist comment. It has everything to do with this.
He totally gaslighted her and asked, I don't know why you think that I took sex off the table because of what you said. Because, yeah, exactly. Because of what you directly said. And then he kept trying to take back his words, so she got really upset with that too.
Which is, own it. If you said it, own it. Deep down somewhere you felt that way. And I'm not saying that, it's not a valid feeling, but it's your feeling, and that's something that you have to deal with, because she can't unchange that. So that's hey, why do I feel this way? Maybe explore why you felt that way. Is it a valid, conclusion to come to? That's something, like you said, you should have discussed that with the therapist. Be like, okay, am I tripping? Am I reading too much into this? What's going on here? And so I feel like he just did way too much.
And yes. And so I want to point out too, one more thing I want to point out is that he says later that the reason why this is something he can never forgive and is never going to move past it is because it was like, he has to stand up for his family, his culture. When people see it on TV, including his mother, they're going to be extremely upset with what was done. And I'm just like, I don't understand why there's no room for error or forgiveness in that.
We're all human.
Because I feel like he should understand that her as a Black woman can understand the exact same thing. But it's like there was just no room for grace. None, yeah. Zero. And how can you go through your life like that? You're never going to find anybody if you can't allow grace and forgiveness in your relationship.
Yeah, because the only reason for him to be upset is once I've explained it to you, we've come to an understanding.
You do it again.
If you do it again,
that's upsetting. That's when you know what? You don't get it.
You've refused to get it, because if I've explained it to you and I'd be like, do you understand now? If you say yes, I understand now, I expect you to act accordingly going forward. So if that situation pops up, I need you to draw from what we've talked about, learned, and gotten better at, and if you continue to that same bad behavior, then that's when I can legitimately have an issue and be angry and be like, you know what? You don't have to get over that. I don't have to get over that anymore, because you know better.
Yeah,
and you chose to still do this particular behavior. So that's when you have a right to be upset.
Yeah. So for me, and it's refreshing because it looks like me and Jillian are very much on the same page on this topic.
Yes.
But it's twofold for me. It's the slut shaming, which I find disgusting. I just hate that he tried to slut shame her and wouldn't admit it. I just, that was the most pissed me off. Right. But it's the other part too, knowing that there are people who date with outside of their race and outside of their culture, and there has to be room for growth.
Yeah.
If you're going to date outside your race and culture.
Yeah.
So just please understand that.
Yeah. And that's very interesting for her, because we've had this conversation around that particular derogatory term for Native Americans. We all know about the Washington Commanders and their previous team name, and we've had that discussion.
Right.
That's something. So I find that very odd that she didn't know the history behind.
She knew it was a derogatory term.
She just didn't know
why.
Me
either.
Okay.
Me either.
Okay. I'll give you. Okay, so I'll take that back. So I'll take that back. I knew that, but necessarily not everyone may have known.
I didn't know about the scalping and of the Indian. I didn't know that.
Yes,
part.
I did know that part.
So to be fair, her assumption was my assumption almost.
Oh, okay.
Literally just about the color of your skin.
No, I knew that wasn't.
So it was an assumption. It was something I would have had to be educated on, and obviously I don't go around saying that word. I don't do that.
In fact, I'll give you grace on that because that was their origin, but also like,
wasn't it the origin of why they made that the team mascot? Because
it's weird. That whole situation is totally weird.
To me, it was like the same, like the Coons thing with Frisco Raccoons, and instead of saying raccoons, they were the Frisco Coons, and it's a derogatory term, but they didn't necessarily. That wasn't the backstory about it. So.
Yeah, but it was
a derogatory term, and of course it should have been changed. Yeah, which it was. Yeah. Same thing with that team. They changed the name
after
because
a lot of pressure. Yeah, and it's funny because it's just, it's not what we, it's not, and this is something, and we're just gonna go off topic a little bit, and we'll go ahead and wrap up. But I feel like a lot of people, when it comes to racism, I hear that a lot. I didn't mean it to be racist. It doesn't, and I want to say this to anyone who, whether on purpose, whatever, when you say something racist to somebody, your intention is not what matters. It's what your impact is. So if I'm telling you your intent, no matter how good it might have been, that was not the impact it had. You need to apologize for the impact that it had.
And I think that's the difference for me.
Apologize and correct. So your intention doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
And I think that's for me, and that's a good point, because for the impact on me is probably a little less, because I do let it probably slide off my back a little bit more than I should with things that are a little bit more, especially when it comes to Black women and, Oreo. Like the term Oreo rolls off my skin at this point. It rolls off my back. I'm like, okay, all right. Yeah. Like, because I'm fully Black. So, I let those kind of things roll off my back, but impacting, it's impacting for sure. So I get that. Yeah. I know, and then the reason why I let it roll off my back is because I know it's not coming from an ill place. But it is still impactful to me as a person.
And so. you've expressed this too, like, because you're of a lighter hue, people question your Blackness. I'm just like, both her parents are Black, so. Honey. Blackly black, okay, like so black. Yeah, so it was just like, both my parents are Black. My grandparents are all Black. I'm Black. My sister's Black. My whole family is Black,
like, and we're all Black.
So the hue doesn't really matter, and people think, well, you're not really. It's insulting.
The term is like, I'm gonna elevate you to not being Black because Black is lower, and so I'm gonna elevate you to my race
because I like you,
as white, because I like you. It's a bit insulting, and I have explained that to some of my friends, and they have refrained from stuff like that. Just like you say, once it's educated, once I tell you it's impacting me, it is bothering me, and you continue, that's when we have a problem. Exactly. I understand. Ignorance. I mean, you're just ignorant to those things.
Yeah, so, and honestly, at this day and age, when it comes to, I'm at the point where I don't accept ignorance as well.
That's what I'm saying now.
Yeah,
but as
you need to educate yourself
when we were younger, because it wasn't so much of a conversation. It was just a thing. Yeah, and we grew up in a city, in a town.
Here's
where
the thing.
We were one of 4 or 5 Black students. So,
and honestly, I'm not accepting that anymore. And you can go educate yourself, and please don't ask.
Well, now I don't.
I don't want you to look to me to explain it to you. I look for you to, as a person in this society, to go and research on your own and get educated. There's plenty of books,
and that could be why
and people you can learn from.
And that could be why he was more like, you should know better type thing. It could be.
Yeah. And she went and she goes, you know what? You're right. I'm going to go make sure I do know better. And that's what I look for people. And she didn't look to him to get the education either.
Right. What she did was offensive. I understand that. But there has to be grace There has to be room for forgiveness,
And
especially with that kind of topic.
And I think how you approach the situation will determine what grace you get and what forgiveness you get.
I just feel like, the way he's, I don't know.
Really, honestly, at the end of the day, I feel like
he slut shamed her. That's all it was. It had only thing to do about her sexual activity to me.
Yeah, it was a misogynistic, sexist comment. You, instead of trying to dive into that
topic, you tried to make the point, and I'm like, that wasn't the point. And you're trying, and it's already such a sensitive topic. Mm-hmm. It's already such a sensitive thing for people across the nation.
Yeah,
and I feel like you use it as like almost like a plot.
Yeah,
or to change a dynamic or change the story, change the narrative.
Yeah,
and I didn't like that part.
Yeah, so hopefully, I mean. This season just started, did it?
So this is season 17. So
you just haven't finished it.
I haven't finished it. So yeah, I think this is season 18. I think this is the season right before the last one. So
well, let me know if they end up together or not.
Girl, no, I'm pretty sure the relationship's over. So he asked for the divorce. So and they're saying ex-husband now. So, but honestly, she shouldn't go back to him. I wouldn't.
I wouldn't feel safe.
Nope.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna do this to me again? Absolutely not. Yeah. No, that you showed me who you are, and I believe you. Thank you. Have a good day.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Did it piss me off? Yes. Can you tell? I bet. But anyways, guys. So the topic was mostly about, forgiveness for me, and culture differences, but also just owning your real feelings. Yeah. Own your real feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And doing better, I guess.
We felt like it was an interesting topic because it was a very interesting conversation we had at dinner last night. So we thought that would be a good one for you guys to chew on and give your perspective and let us know what you think, because we've definitely given you an earful today.
All right, then.
All right. We'll talk to you guys later. Have a good week. Bye.
Bye.
And that's a wrap on the latest episode of Let Me Finish. Thank you guys for joining us for another week and listening to the latest episode. Don't forget, go like, share, and subscribe on your favorite platforms. And you guys can also follow us and see us on different platforms. I am on Instagram, and that's going to be Uniquely Janice. And then I'll also be on TikTok, Janice H, GENICEH. Michael, where can they find you?
I'm only on Instagram, and it's Castra Salimi. And by Castra Salimi, I mean Castra Writes, because I changed it and I just forgot. So it's KASRA Writes, WRITES.
Yes. Jillian, where can we find you?
Instagram as well, and it's New Jillian Who Dis.
New Jillian Who Dis. All right. Well, we will talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye.